Before we dive in, viewer discretion is advised. This content is for entertainment purposes. What happens when a quiet storm walks straight into a studio known for turning whispers into wildfire? In the blink of an eye, the live audience settles into their seats. The bright stage lights sharpen like 1,000 watchful eyes, and the energy shifts with a pulse you can almost feel beneath your skin. Luke Bryan steps onto the set with that familiar, easy stride. But there's something different in the air today. Something heavier. Something that makes every camera operator lean just a bit closer. Joy Behar sits poised at the table, her smile controlled and curious, the kind of smile that tells you she's already planning her next move. As Luke takes a seat, the room seems to momentarily freeze. Conversations fade, the buzzing stage machinery quiets, and even the shifting of the audience slows, as if the entire studio senses a collision waiting to happen. A beat of anticipation rolls through the space, subtle at first, then stronger, like a wave rising just before it breaks. Joy's eyes narrow with a glint of playful challenge, and Luke's jaw tightens with the kind of calm strength that warns he's not walking into this unprepared. The first question drops, light on the surface, but edged with something sharper underneath. It ripples through the studio, slicing the air clean in half. Luke hears it, weighs it, lets the silence stretch just long enough to draw every heartbeat in the room into alignment. Something flickers behind his eyes, something the audience can feel but can't name yet, something that sends a collective shiver down the spine of the studio. Behind the camera, a producer inhales sharply. A stage hand stops mid-step. No one knows what Luke is about to say, but everyone feels the fuse catch fire because this moment isn't planned. This moment isn't safe. This moment is the first crack in what's about to become a Hollywood shockwave. And somewhere inside that breathless quiet, the promise of an explosive line, one that will land squarely on Joy, begins to bloom. The storm doesn't begin on camera. It starts in the quiet corners of the studio long before the audience takes their seats, long before the lights burn awake, long before anyone realizes they're about to witness a moment that will rattle the walls of daytime television. Backstage, the energy hums with tension that feels strangely alive, like the air right before lightning splits open the sky. Luke Bryan arrives earlier than expected, stepping into the dim, bustling corridor with a half-smile that doesn't quite reach his eyes. His boots echo against the polished floor, each step measured, steady, controlled. But beneath that calm exterior, something churns, a blend of curiosity, caution, and the quiet readiness of a man who knows how quickly a conversation can turn into a battlefield. He adjusts his jacket, exhales, and lets the faint murmur of producers and crew wash over him. He's been on countless stages, faced millions of fans, navigated hostile interviews and high-pressure moments. Yet today feels different. Something in the air whispers that he should stay alert. Joy Behar sits in her dressing room, the door slightly ajar, the glow of the mirror reflecting a face both experienced and determined. She flips through her note cards with sharp practice rhythm, her eyes narrowing each time she pauses on a particular question, one wrapped in controversy, one she knows could ignite, one she has chosen intentionally. She taps the edge of the card against her desk, a silent beat of anticipation. She's not nervous, she's calculating. She knows the audience expects her signature bite, and she fully intends to deliver it. But even she can feel something unusual hanging in the air, an invisible warning she pretends not to notice. In the control room, producers whisper in low, urgent tones, their eyes darting across the monitors as if searching for reassurance that simply isn't there. They know Joy's outline. They know Luke's reputation, and they know this combination has a potential to go sideways fast. One of them runs a hand through his hair, exhaling slowly as though trying to release the tension building in his chest. Another bites her lip, glancing at the clock like it's counting down to an event none of them can stop. Still, no one says anything. Not out loud. Not when the stakes are this high. Not when interrupting Joy or warning Luke could spark the exact explosion they're trying to avoid. Meanwhile, just beyond the curtains, the audience trickles in with excited chatter, completely unaware of the storm gathering only a few feet away. They laugh, settle into their seats, snap selfies, and whisper about which hot topic the host will tackle first. They don't see the subtle tension in the producers' shoulders, They don't notice the stage manager pacing a little quicker than usual. They have no idea they're about to witness a confrontation, so sharp it could cut straight through the polished surface of daytime TV. Luke stands near the entrance to the stage, rolling his shoulders slightly, shaking off the last remnants of hesitation. His eyes flick toward Joy's silhouette as she steps out of her dressing room, rehearsed calm radiating from her like a shield. Their gazes meet for just 1 second, just one, and in that brief moment, something unspoken crackles between them, something electric, something volatile, something that warns a universe that a line is about to be crossed. The stage manager calls out that they're going live soon, his voice tighter than usual. Luke nods. Joy smiles. The crew stiffens. The audience cheers. No one knows what's coming. No one knows how quickly the atmosphere will shift once the questions begin. No one knows they're standing on the edge of a moment that will erupt with enough force to echo across Hollywood. But the storm knows. It's already alive, already swelling, already threading itself through the walls of the studio, waiting, ready, about to break. The conversation starts almost too gently, like a calm surface of water hiding the current beneath. The studio lights warm the set in a soft glow, the audience leaning forward with easy smiles. Unaware of the small tremor running under the floor, Luke Bryan settles into his chair with that familiar southern ease, offering a polite grin that earns a wave of applause. Joy Behar welcomes him with a bright, almost disarming tone, her voice coated in sweetness, but carrying an edge, so thin it's nearly invisible. For a moment, everything feels harmless, almost friendly, as if both of them are simply exchanging nisties in a quiet cafe, instead of sitting under the burning spotlight of live TV. But then Joy lifts her first card. Her fingers pause for barely half a second. A tiny hesitation, so subtle most people miss it. Luke doesn't. His eyes track the motion, slow and steady, like a man who has spent a lifetime reading a room before taking his first step. The smile on Joy's face deepens, though it no longer reaches her eyes. She leans in, breath controlled, posture poised, and delivers the opening question with a softness misleading enough to feel dangerous. The moment the words leave her mouth, the atmosphere shifts, not violently, not loudly, but sharply, like a sudden drop in temperature that makes the back of your neck tense. Luke hears the change instantly. The audience feels it too, though they don't quite understand why. Even the crew behind the cameras straighten, their expressions tightening around the edges, as if bracing for something they can't yet predict. Luke lets the question settle for a heartbeat, then another, his silence long enough to thicken the air, but not long enough to seem unsure. His jaw moves just slightly, the muscle tightening, then relaxing, a subtle tell only the closest viewers would catch. His eyes flicker with something measured, something steady, as if he's weighing the exact gravity of Joy's opening move. He answers politely at first. His voice is smooth, low rumble that fills the space without pushing against it. But the weight behind his words hints at a boundary, a quiet warning wrapped in calm composure. Joy tilts her head, taking in every detail, his posture, his tone, the control fire behind his eyes, and her smile stretches a little wider. She senses it. He senses it. The room senses it. The tension begins to ripple outward, gentle enough to hide inside the laughter of the audience, but strong enough to vibrate through every core of the conversation. Luke shifts slightly in his seat, adjusting his shoulders, grounding himself with the kind of instinct a performer learns, only after years of standing beneath blinding lights and unpredictable crowds. His hands remain still, resting on his lap, but his fingers curl inward just a fraction, a tiny spark of focus tightening inside him. Joy moves to her next point with slow, deliberate rhythm, her voice dipping into that familiar blend of humor and challenge. She circles back to his previous answer with precision, pushing just enough to make the air thicken again. The audience chuckles, unaware they're stepping closer to the flame. Luke studies her, his eyes sharpen. His expression stays even, but there's a flicker. Quick, bright, unmistakable, like the first spark catching on dry wood. He leans in just slightly, answering with a touch more weight than before. His tone still steady, but carrying a new undertone, one that hints he's fully aware of where Joy is steering the ship. He doesn't back away, doesn't deflect. He meets her head-on, calm and unshaken. And in that exact instant, the temperature in the room rises a single perceptible degree, a soft shift, a quiet warning, a signal that passes through the studio like a whisper from the future. One of the producers inhales sharply behind the camera. A stage hand freezes mid-step at the far corner of the set. Joy's smile twitches, small, fleeting, but enough to reveal she felt the spark, too. Luke holds her gaze, letting the silence stretch for a heartbeat longer than necessary. It hits the room like a slow, rolling drum beat. The conversation eases into motion with a softness that almost feels deceptive, the kind of gentle opening that tries to convince everyone in the room they're safe. Luke Bryan leans back slightly, offering a warm, easy grin that draws a wave of applause from the crowd. The lights glow overhead, steady and calm, wrapping the set in an inviting warmth. For a moment, it feels like the room is settling into a comfortable rhythm, a smooth dance between host and guest. That illusion lasts exactly 5 seconds. Joy Behar's fingers brush the edge of her first card, and the moment she glances down, something in the air shifts. Luke catches it instantly. His eyes track the movement with quiet precision, the way a man studies the first ripple in a still pond before the storm breaks. Joy lifts her gaze, smile bright but sharpen ever so slightly at the edges, and releases the first question with a tone so light it almost hides the weight tucked inside. The words drop between them like a small stone hitting water, sending a subtle shock wave across the table. It's a question wrapped in charm dipped in humor, but carrying an unmistakable undertone, a challenge dressed up as casual curiosity. The audience laughs, softly, unaware of the sudden pulse of tension that just shifted the room's entire temperature. Feels it immediately. The pressure presses against his spine, not overwhelming, but enough to force him into sharper focus. He exhales through his nose, the tiniest release of breath, and straightens just a fraction in his chair. His smile remains easy and polite, but something steadier slips into his eyes, a watchfulness, a readiness. He answers with calm precision, his voice smooth but firm, each word placed with deliberate care. He doesn't deflect. He doesn't stumble. He simply meets the question head-on with a clarity that makes the audience lean forward without knowing why. Joy studies him, her expression softening for a split moment before her eyes narrow just slightly, a glimmer of calculation flickering beneath the surface. Luke's hand rests on his knee, fingers barely tapping, small, subtle, a physical hint of the tightening coil inside him. Joy leans in, elbows edging closer to the table, her posture shifting into something more alert, more engaged, more ready to push. The room senses a change even before anyone speaks again. The laughter quiets. The hum of backstage equipment fades into the background. A stillness stretches across the set like a thick curtain slowly drifting downward. Joy's voice lifts again, this time with a bit more edge, looping back to his answer with a clever twist that nudges him toward a corner just wide enough to test him. Luke tilts his head slightly, eyes narrowing with a spark of controlled fire. He's not angry. He's not rattled. But he's fully awake now, fully aware that this conversation is shifting into deeper waters. He leans forward with slow, steady confidence, delivering his next line with precision that cuts through the air cleanly. The audience reacts, a mix of laughter and surprise rising from their seats. Joy blinks once, quick, subtle, then recovers with a bright smile that feels tighter than before. Behind the cameras, a producer stiffens. Another stops adjusting a monitor, frozen mid-motion. Luke notices everything. The tightening expressions, the shifting energy, the faint buzz of tension threading through the room like electricity, looking for a place to land. Joy lifts her next card. Luke's fingers curl just slightly against his knee. The silence between them thickens. And in that suspended heartbeat, a quiet realization settles over the studio, invisible but undeniable, like the distant rumble of thunder rolling across an open sky. This is only the beginning. Everyone can feel it. Joy doesn't waste a second. The moment the audience's reaction fades, she leans forward with a spark in her eyes that makes the crew shift nervously behind the cameras. Her fingers brush the next card, the paper bending ever so slightly under pressure of her grip, and she releases another question, this one sharper, heavier, aimed with the precision of someone who knows exactly where to strike. The tone remains light, almost playful, but the words slice clean to the air like a blade wrapped in velvet. Luke hears the shift before he fully processes the question. His posture straightens just a touch. His jaw tenses, a subtle instinctive response, and the warmth in his smile cools into something steadier, something anchored. The tension lands squarely between them, invisible but dense, settling across the table like a weight neither of them intends to lift. He answers without flinching, no hesitation, no stumble. His voice stays controlled, low, threaded with a smoothness that masks the steel beneath it. Each word he chooses lands with a quiet clarity, firm enough to hold the line, but polished enough to keep the tone civil. It's a balancing act, one he pulls off with the kind of composure that only years under blinding lights can teach. Joy listens, nodding, that smile tightening into something thin and unreadable. She's not backing down. She circles back again, nudging the question from another angle, pushing with a little more force this time, enough to make the energy around them flicker dangerously. The studio lights seem to grow warmer. The audience shifts but makes no sound. Every breath in the room stalls, suspended between anticipation and dread. Luke lifts his chin slightly. His eyes narrow, not in anger, but in focus. He's not letting her steer him into a corner. Not today. His reply comes sharper now, not impolite, but undeniably firm. A line drawn with the kind of subtle precision that speaks louder than any raised voice ever could. A ripple runs through the audience. A soft gasp swallowed before it escapes fully, as if everyone realizes at once that the conversation has crossed an invisible threshold. The word between them turn into weapons, not shouted, not explosive, but pointed, intentional, each one edged with meaning. Joy fires another question. Luke meets it with a calm, slicing response. The temperature in the studio rises degree by degree until it feels like the air itself is vibrating. One of the co-hosts shifts uncomfortably, her smile faltering as she glances between the two of them. Another tries to interject, voice light and overly cheerful, desperate to break the tension. But the moment she speaks, the energy on the set swallows her whole. Joy doesn't turn. Luke doesn't look away. The conversation belongs to them now, and everyone else has become an accessory to a duel they never saw coming. Joy's voice sharpens, dipping into that unmistakable rhythm she uses when she's cornering a guest. She tilts her head, eyebrow lifting in a challenge, and asks another question that lands like a small explosion on the table. The audience goes silent, completely, utterly silent. Not even a cough, not even a rustle of clothing, just breathless, suspended stillness. Luke reacts with a single exhale, steady and controlled. His shoulders loosen, but his gaze locks in unshakable. He leans forward just enough to show he's not intimidated, not pushed off balance. His response comes, wrapped in calm, but charged with unmistakable force, a verbal counterpunch delivered with perfect precision. Even the cameras seem to lean closer, as if trying to capture every flicker of detail on his face. The co-hosts glance at each other, their expressions tightening with worry. They can't interrupt. They can't stop it. They can only watch as the balance of power shifts right in front of them. Joy pushes, but Luke pushes back. Not with aggression, but with a kind of grounded strength that begins to tilt the entire table. Joy feels it. A flicker in her smile betrays her. Her eyes dart for the briefest second to producers, as if gouging whether she's gone too far, but she returns to Luke almost immediately, refusing to show weakness. The silence between their exchanges grows heavier, longer, more charged. Every word becomes a choice. Every breath becomes a signal. Every shift of posture carries the weight of the battle unfolding in real time. And slowly, unmistakably, the power begins to move. It slides across the table like a shadow changing direction. Luke's voice steadies further. Joy's questions press harder, but land less cleanly. The audience senses a shift, their attention locked on Luke, now drawn to the calm fire rising behind his eyes. What began as a gentle interview has transformed into a collision course, and everyone in the studio, host, crew, audience, knows the storm has officially broken. The heat is rising, the balance is tipping, and the moment everything flips is coming fast. The moment builds so slowly it's almost unnoticeable until it snaps all at once. Joy Behar leans in eyes-sharp posture, lifted with the confidence of someone who believes she's about to land the final blow. The studio lights flicker across her expression, revealing a glint that's equal parts daring and defiant. She inhales just barely and lets out the question that has been sitting at the edge of this conversation like a loaded trap. It comes wrapped in her signature humor, but the undercurrent is unmistakably pointed. The words spill into the air like a dropped match onto gasoline. The room freezes. There isn't a breath, not a whisper, not even a rustle of fabric from the audience. It's as if the entire studio has been locked inside a single suspended heartbeat. One camera zooms in on Luke's face. Catching the instant, his eyes widen, not in shock, but in recognition of exactly what Joy is trying to do. Another angle cuts to the audience, mouths parted, eyes stretched, waiting for something.